Give a warm San Diego welcome to Jewel!
She needs no introduction. The three-time Grammy nominee, Jewel, has become an international star. But when she first started out, she struggled to make a living and had to live out of her car. Then she met Mike Howard.
I was singing at a coffee shop called The Interchange, and he would come in and hear me sing.
When Mike hears strong talent like Jewel, he doesn't hesitate to promote them and connect them with the right people.
He was just really great and took me under his wing and was really helpful, really supportive, and let me come in and play songs, and he'd put them on the radio, and I got phone calls.
We try to hustle him, try to bustle him, try to cuss him. The cops want someone to bust down on Orleans Avenue.
He'd get calls on me, and it's really what gave me a shot.
Then, her big break.
Pretty much the only reason I ended up not homeless is because Michael took a bootleg of one of my songs and played it on the radio, and record labels in LA went, who the heck is this girl getting played on 91X? And does she have a deal? And that's pretty much how I got discovered.
Now, she's hit #1 on the pop and country music charts. They're not the typical tunes you'll hear Mike play on the rock stations he's worked at, but that's never stopped him from playing good music.
I just want to thank Mike for believing in music and giving me a start and being brave enough to put a little folky singer-songwriter on alternative radio. Really helped break down barriers and start me out.
Who else?
There were other bands at the time. The Rugburns, obviously, to me, should have been one of the biggest bands in the world.
Everybody thought that. Why didn't they become one of the bigger hits?
That's a question you probably have to ask Steve, because I think both of us have the same kind of personality. We love what we do, but at the same time, there's kind of a, I want to try something fresh. I want to do something different, and all that stuff.
And they wanted to put him into a box, or put the Rugburns into a box?
At one point, because he was at one point known as, Jewel's boyfriend, co-wrote the song, somebody probably got to him and said, you need to do a solo record to become the male Jewel. And did he fall for it? I don't know. I mean, he's still doing his solo stuff now, but the Rugburns still, to me, were one of the funniest, most creative, he's the best songwriter in the world, period. I mean, he can write for anybody. He could write songs for Tom Waits, and that's pretty hard to do. But, he can write jingles, too.
Yeah.
Minutes away, miles apart, it's a win-win situation. I mean, that song still, to this day, stuck in my head, and probably played more than any Rugburn song ever on the radio.
Who else? Blink.
Blink, yeah, Blink was all O. O was producing bands, and he wanted me to play his band on the radio, and he'd always come in and bring me the new CD that his band was putting out, Fluff at the time. And one day he came in and he goes, hey, you got to check these guys out. They're from Poway, blah, 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 blah. They're called Blink. I just finished the album. It cost him, I think, $550 to produce it. And we sat in the old production studio and listened to the record, and it was good. It wasn't amazing, but it was good. And he said something along the lines of, they're playing next week, we should go see them play live, because he knows what I'm like. Anybody can make a really good record. The idea is, can you actually pull it off live? Mm-hmm. So we went over to Soma Side Stage when it was over on near Morena, walked in the door, and the first thing I thought was, I'm the oldest guy in the world, because it was just jam-packed with every teenager in San Diego. And then I realized, oh my God, it's jam-packed with every teenager in San Diego. Why are these people here if this record has barely come out?
Yeah.
Because they had a cassette out before that. And here were these three completely crazy, and I do mean that with all due respect, because Tom DeLonge still is crazy, crazy kids up there, and it was one of the funniest things I've ever seen in my life. They weren't the greatest players in the world, but they put on probably they thought they were playing Budokan as far as they were concerned. It was like Cheap Trick at Budokan. They could, they were up there, this is the first song, and it was so funny, and they were so irreverent, which they continued to do for many, many years after that. But that all started, at tiny, tiny clubs in San Diego that were like oversold on the side stage.
And you got them on the air.
Yeah, so we threw them on the air, and they took off. They took off in San Diego, got the major record deal, obviously went on to sell, I don't know how many millions of albums. Probably almost embarrassing for them, because I don't think they ever expected it.
As he did for many other local artists, Mike was the first DJ to play Blink-182 on the radio.
I remember I rolled down my window and I blasted it and I started screaming at the car next to me at this intersection, like, to turn it to 91X, and I was like, because I'm on the radio right now.
For Tom DeLonge, Blink-182's lead singer and guitarist, Mike wasn't just a radio DJ, but a friend and mentor.
He's continually opened the door for so many bands like mine. He was always the glue that held, you know, these underground bands to their first part of success.
While Mike is a fan of Tom and his music, Tom is a fan of Mike and his knowledge of music.
I think if you were to be a DJ, you would aspire to be someone like him that's knowledgeable about the music you're playing and a fan of it, but also with a legacy where people really respect you, because when he does interviews with bands, they like to sit down. He's got more stories than the bands do.
Tom's now in a band called Angels and Airwaves.
And do you ever feel like you're alone? And do you ever wish to...
And has his own shoe company and clothing line in North San Diego County. While he's made it big in so many ways, Tom will always remember his roots.
I think if Mike wasn't around in San Diego, I think that there'd be a huge disconnect between independent and cool music making it to the mainstream. I think that he's extraordinarily helpful for the music scene here. He knows everybody. He's been a part of almost every band's career growing up and making it to the mainstream if they have had the chance. And he's just a good dude.
But then I turned on the TV, and that's about the time she walked away.